You are at a party and someone walks up to you. You recognize them, but as you go to say their name, nothing. Or maybe you try to recall a subject you mastered years ago and your mind is completely blank. When this happens, the immediate reaction is panic. We assume our brain is degrading. We treat memory like a computer's hard drive, and when a file goes missing, we think the hardware is corrupted and failing. But a perfect, infallible memory isn't the ideal state we think it is. Holding on to absolutely everything creates a profound risk to our ability to function. An excess of remembering is as problematic as an excess of forgetting. The brain operates as an aggressively calibrated survival engine. Its structures prioritize immediate needs to help us navigate the present moment. From that biological perspective, storing the name of a stranger from a party years ago offers zero immediate value. If a piece of information does not actively keep you functioning right now, the brain targets it for removal. Forgetting serves as a necessary, highly efficient maintenance routine that keeps your biological systems running smoothly. This process of elimination starts immediately, even before a memory is formed. Our concentration acts as the first filter. If you aren't actively focused on a message in the exact moment it arrives, the brain assumes it's irrelevant, and it fades away without ever being encoded. Even if a piece of information does pass that initial encoding stage, its place in your mind is still not guaranteed. A much stricter screening happens automatically every night while we sleep. The sleeping brain acts as a ruthless editor. It scans new data added during the day, selects details deemed unnecessary for survival, and simply ejects them. This pruning leaves only critical data structurally intact and ready for tomorrow. Daily memory deletion is a continuous, protective mechanism. It prevents cognitive bloat, ensuring limited physical energy is spent only on what truly matters. Then there are the larger absences. People often find they can no longer speak a language they learned in childhood, or they draw a complete blank on a complex subject like college statistics 25 years later. Keeping that knowledge active has a high biological cost. Memories require a constant, heavy supply of bodily energy from the bloodstream. To avoid wasting that energy, the brain performs simulated forgetting, compressing the memory down into a dormant recipe or tiny seed. To your conscious mind, this deep freeze archiving feels exactly the same as permanent memory loss. You try to recall the information, and you feel like the data has been wiped, but the recipe still exists. If an environmental shift occurs, like traveling to your birth country or helping with statistics homework, a new survival need arises, and the brain goes looking for that dormant file. Once located, the brain uses the stored instructions to quickly grow the seed. Within a few days of reading a textbook or listening to locals speak, fluency and comprehension return in a fraction of the time it originally took to learn. Large blocks of missing past knowledge haven't degraded. They are safely archived in a highly efficient biological vault, waiting to be reactivated exactly when they become useful again. This strict control over what stays in our conscious mind also works during immediate, high-stakes crises. Imagine a teacher leaving a sick child at home with a sitter. Driving to work, she is consumed by worry, but the moment she steps in front of her class to prep them for exams, those thoughts vanish from her mind. Researchers at the Weizmann Institute identified a tiny area at the front of the brain, just a few millimeters across, responsible for this exact reaction. They named it Memory's Gatekeeper. This gatekeeper actively and temporarily suppresses access to highly emotional, distracting memories. It blocks the intense worry so the teacher can focus entirely on successfully teaching her students. Once the bell rings, the memory is allowed back in. This kind of temporary forgetting is a targeted, tactical rescue mission deployed by your nervous system. It ensures distracting information doesn't cause you to freeze up when you need to perform. Knowing that the brain is constantly looking for ways to conserve conscious energy allows us to deliberately hack its systems. We can train our subcortical autopilot to do the heavy lifting for us. Intuition relies on subcortical memory executing established rules in the background, requiring no active input from the cortex. To build this intuitive skill through neuroplasticity, you first have to emphasize the strict rules of a task to your conscious mind. If you want to recognize untrustworthy people intuitively, you deliberately look for the visual cues of greed on a human face. If you want to play music by ear, you study the connection between a melody and its underlying chords. Next, you expose the brain to rapid, real-world repetition accompanied by instant feedback. You drive around searching for a pizzeria without a GPS, making wrong turns and correcting them, forcing your brain to learn from successes and failures. After enough feedback, the subcortical neural network recognizes the regularity of those rules and takes over entirely. The complex skill becomes an instinct, performed quickly and automatically without burning any precious conscious energy. So, if you ever find yourself like the silver-haired man, anxious because you can't recall a stranger's face or an old math equation, you can let it go. Your brain is simply prioritizing its energy to ensure you survive.